Measure for Measure is readily viewed as a play for our times in the depiction of the polarization between a draconian legal system and exercise of personal freedoms, including the attendant hypocrisies on both sides, with very few moderating conversations taking place. The surrender required by practices like listening to and imagining alternative communal ways forward find expression in the figure of Isabella as she evolves and moves from a cloistered and unworldly position to one leading up to renewed sovereignty at the city's gates. Isabella comes to embody and be emblematic of gestures, that is, practices, that bring wisdom into communal life within constraints of the historical moment, declaring even with her silence its presence as the tempered solution, allowing human lives to continue side by side despite tensions. Isabella's verbal arguments and locations in the play are reminiscent of the Old Testament Proverbs figure wisdom, or chokmah. In her travels through the play and interactions with Lucio, Angelo, Claudio, Mariana, and the Friar Duke, Isabella too is forthright in declaiming what is just pertaining to her brother's situation and her own. I also offer that as her suit and machinations for a just resolution meet defeat in the all too humanly occupied seats of judgment, she surrenders her personal insistence for justice to embody the spiritual gestures of forgiveness and sisterly support of Mariana. With that sacrifice, Isabella makes possible enacted life after death with her brother Claudio and redemption of the community. My take is that such gestures matter to public life and are very much needed today. In the current climate, as in Shakespeare's Vienna, engaging in making one's case, however just, risks all too often a judgment against what is desired. Wisdom's gift, often realized through forgiveness, surrender, and imagination, enables the capacity to remain generative of value and connection in a position of defeat. In her final speech, on her knees in front of the city's gates and against the common sense propounded by the Duke, Isabella discriminates between Angelo's actions and thoughts and his threats. In this, we can see her own behavior, to a degree, mirrored in Angelo's. Didn't she also intend to save her brother, but waver at doing what was in her power to do to save him? In the first chapter of Proverbs, wisdom is described as crying out in public at the city gates. Far from being a retiring figure, Isabella, like wisdom, moves in the world in order to improve circumstances in the community. In the Catholic tradition, Christ was identified with God's wisdom, starting in Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, in which the message of the cross is named as the locus of a new understanding of wisdom through the crucifixion. In Measure for Measure's crossed paths, crossed purposes, crossed words, and actions at the crossroads, I infer Shakespeare's endorsement of a middle way through polarized power camps, that of wisdom enacted through engagement, listening, surrender, and imagination, leading to seeing ourselves, flawed as well as just, in the lives of others.